Cool. All right, I'll jump into it. Thanks, everyone. Chris Stanley's my name, presenting for Splinter Society Architecture. I'm presenting our project Deeds Brewery, which is in Glen Iris. It's essentially it's a tap room, but the building, it's a very complicated project that involved housing the central operations for the Deeds Brewing business. So all the brewing, canning, bottling, offices, warehousing, big trucks in and out, all happen within this one facility, and the tap room, front of house. So it occupies 4,000 square meters of old warehouses in Glen Iris that hugs the train line here. Sort of got the Monash Freeway and High Street here. So a very small wedge of industrial land in leafy Glen Iris, eastern suburbs. The existing warehouse was very dilapidated, 1940s building, occupied by a collection of different buildings, but occupied by a mechanic previously and J.D. McDonald, a metal presser before that. A lot of asbestos, a lot of damp, really disheveled building. This is it from the outside, and it's quite, look, 1950s, the old offices for the factory. We loved the feel of that, and our clients wanted their brewery brand to have a sense of authenticity and genuine history, tradition, and a sense of permanence. So we thought, well, let's celebrate these warehouses. It was sort of on the table to demolish when they engaged us, and we said, no, there's a lot of character here. So we've revived the warehouses, created new entry between them, and from there it's an interior fit out project, albeit a very complicated one. These are our clients, Pat and Dave. They are exactly how they look, country fellas, love a beer, very friendly, and their aspiration from very young was to open a brewery together and be able to share a beer with their mates. They love socializing, they love hanging out with people, and that's fundamental to their brand. Other key briefing aspects were they're very experimental brewery. They're probably one of the leading 2 or 3 breweries in Australia for large scale craft brewing now, craft brewing, win a lot of awards. They're very innovative. They do a lot of different things. The brewery had to reinforce their brand. It's their public interface. They wanted it to be quite sophisticated, but accessible, very accessible to everyone. They want to permeate the non-beer drinking market, young, old, with innovative creativity, raw, honest, and sort of mass appeal, I suppose, for a boutique craft brewery. So when you look at the warehouses, you've got the train line to the north here, the south, you've got a very small street. Gardeners Creek's down here, so a lot of water ran through this building. We put all the canning and warehousing to the rear of the warehouse. We had to cut in a loading bay through the middle of the warehouse at the upper level because trucks couldn't get in and turn around in this building. All the brewing happens through this part. You can see all the tanks there. There's a car park we had to create outside to this end of the building. All their offices sit here near the entry to the brewery, and then the tap room sits right in the middle of everything. And that was a very deliberate strategy for us, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then all the services sit under here. So when you look at a section, you'll see there the land falls away down to the train line in Gardeners Creek. And at the top, you'll see this collection of mishmash of old warehouses that are jumbled together. So when you zoom in a bit on the tap room, our concept was to create a brewery that really immersed visitors or patrons into the brewing experience and to really feel what these guys did. There's no sanitation, there's no glass between you and the brewing process like a lot of the experience in a lot of breweries. So we planted it right in the middle here. All the beer taps sit at the back. There's a long bar that runs through the middle, and really on every edge you're surrounded by the brewing process. So you can see here, this is how you enter the building. When you turn to the right, you can see you can kind of access, you could easily walk into where the main boilers and brew tanks are. You can smell the hops and the grains being delivered. You can see the steam, you can feel the heat coming off the boiler. The forklifts drive past all the time. And so you've just got this real connection to all the processes. This is their ferment, this is their barrels where they do a lot of their brews and mixes that they permeate through the different beers that they make. And that's this fine dining room that sits adjacent to it. This is the beer tanks that adorn the back of the bar. Now, these get hosed down a couple of times a week. So all this big bar area is waterproof. spray goes everywhere, ice forms on the pipes, and we've just lit them beautifully. So we can transform that experience through the night, but you're really there seeing it all happen around you. When you go to the toilets, you can find yourself walking into the canning room, and there's very subtle demarcations, but no, it's not sanitized at all. This is the existing warehouse, and we pushed hard for keeping it. Again, part of that, celebrating the character of the building, the history, that sense of authenticity, but also a mass saving in money. We felt we could revive this to be something really special. Reused all the timber, very sustainable, reused a lot of the materials, no landfill, very little embodied energy by saving all of this. You can see here, big warehouse. We didn't keep the grass growing through the middle of it, took the roof off, all asbestos, put a really well insulated roof to just improve performance. And then all these old beams we highlighted. So you can see that had been cut and pasted 1,000 times over the years of occupation of this building, highlighting that, highlighting the floor, old calcification from the old brickwork coming through. You can see the old wallpaper and markings from the old mechanics workshop in the background. Another big thing for these guys is they've got this scatter pattern, which is their branding, very strong branding throughout all their graphics website. So we designed carpets to pick up on that. We wanted it to feel like an immersion in their brand without being too overwhelming. So we went for repetitive patterns, these circle motif that runs through the space, all the timber work, this really long, it's a 20-metre bar top, timber bar to have that traditional pub feel, but it's all made out of wood block with a very fine grained pattern, which up close gives you that sense of the scatter pattern but feeling sophisticated and not overwhelming. You'll see there that it permeates through all the materials. This circle wall that wraps through the venue is a low-res video wall. So we can feed video and movement and graphics through that to transform the feel of the space from day to night. Thank you. And so it gives a real dynamic feel to different times of the day, different events that they can hold in there by changing the lighting, changing the movement, and effectively gives a real sense of excitement and fun in the venue. Just some little kind of vignettes there. There's spots for small groups, spots for large groups. There's spots where kids can feel comfortable and families, older people, and yet you've still got this real attachment to brewing and the brewery process that's happening around you. So I'll just jump out. While I'm finishing off, I'll just show you just a little clip of how this kind of video wall works. That's just a very small section, but because we don't have the outdoor spaces on this job, it's fully interior, so we can change the color temperature of the lighting and really kind of the fade and really manipulate that experience to create quite a dynamic kind of overlay. And then looking through these screens, we can backlight the brewery at different times, so you've got a real permeability, focusing on the front and the intimate and the brewery and the dining experience, or highlighting the brewing experience that's happening in the background.